I really mean when I say that I really care for our patients, their needs of their dental needs, and getting the most out of that in a very comfortable place and caring place, and where they can trust. And so, the feedback that we get online reviews is all about trusting, all about comfortable, down to earth people, home like. So these are important aspects that we want to grow with our patients.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that, this policy, there's things that worked perfectly for us. We're just going to scale it up.
This is Growth in Dentistry, a dental intelligence podcast where we ask the question, what does growth in dentistry look like to you? I'm Katie Polson, a dental hygienist and your host.
Welcome to a special episode of Growth in Dentistry for our Practice Girl series. I'm Katie Polson, and we are excited to continue our journey in talking to some of our top practices and learning about how they use automation and analytics and making their practices better. But before we get started, I wanted to invite those of you that are on Facebook that like to hang out there, come join our Facebook Dental Intelligence community. We've got a good group of people that learn about, again, automation and engagement and business practices. And it's a fun group of people to be surrounded with online. If you have not gone and rated and reviewed this podcast, we appreciate every one of them. We thank you so much for those of you that have done that. And if you are a first-time listener, this is our Practice Growth series that you're listening to. They're about an hour long. The goal is to really just deep dive into practices that are in it, just like you. And then we have other episodes with some key opinion leaders in the industry tackling certain problems. And those are some of our growth series podcasts. And then we have some DSO podcasts for those of you that are wanting to enter the enterprise space or already there. So something for everyone. I encourage you to continue to check out all the other episodes that we have to offer. If you are not a current customer of Dental Intelligence, since this podcast is sponsored by them, you can go to get.dentalintel.com/podcast to get $50 when you complete a demo if you want to see what Dental Intelligence can do for you in your practice. I'll make sure that link is in our show notes. And that's it. Without further ado, we're so grateful to have James Bay from Grace Dental Group, hailing from San Francisco as a practice manager administrator, I guess. He does a lot, and we're excited to have him on. Thank you. And he looks, for those of you that are watching on YouTube, you can see, but those of you that are listening, he looks like he's here. He showed up. He's got a professional microphone and lights, and he's got a good camera. He looks like he should be the host, and I'm just some chump change. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for that introduction, Katie. I'm so glad to be here for you and all the listeners out there. Thank you for having me.
Oh, so glad to do it. So, James, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into dentistry and how long you've been there and what you've been up to.
Sure. For your listeners, I think it'd be interesting to know that I didn't plan on becoming a dental industry in the field. I was back in about 20 years ago during the dot-com years of 2000 years. I was working as a design consultant marketing in a marketing company, and I was good at it and I loved it. But like everything else, all the company kind of folded, closed, and mine did too. And I was in transition to another work, and a college buddy of mine who was a dentist in the city asked me to come aboard and help him out in the back office, accounting, accounts receivable. It was just a mess, he said. And I said, why not? I've got a few months to kill. So, and that was 20 some years ago. And here I am today.
Still at the same office, or
still the same office? The owners have changed a couple of times, but I'm still with the same office, and we have expanded. We have offices in San Francisco, San Jose, and Oakland. So I manage all the offices.
All of them. So you took it from a single location to
Yes.
to an enterprise, which is
Yes.
awesome. There's so a lot of people that are looking to know how to do that. Listen up. Awesome. There's a lot of people in that space. So tell us a little bit about, I guess, each individual practice. So San Francisco, San Jose, are they kind of all the same? What demographic are you treating,
Right.
that kind of thing?
There, so my main office is in San Francisco, which I have been always, about 20 years ago. And we've had associate dentists that I hire who became owner, who also opened in San Francisco with another partner. So I've managed both. And then there's another dentist in Oakland, and that I manage that office. So there are different entities.
Mm-hmm.
Well, San Jose and San Francisco kind of similar, two offices we share same resources like employees, um, and some functionality of technology driven kind of stuff that we co-share
Mm-hmm.
and ideas and concepts, and those are that's what I'm responsible for those offices.
Okay, great. So, what would you say makes the practices that you help run unique? So, I guess compared to the other practices around you in those areas.
Sure. So in the city, we have many offices, and they're somewhat similar. But I think that from what I've learned from firsthand, going back way back when I didn't know anything, from paper charting to like a paper printer and the forms and fax, carbon copy fax.
Yeah.
That's where I came from, and then we made transition to all digitalized. I went through that process, and that was interesting. And then currently, I think that there is this an explosion of technology driven field, and I think dentistry just kind of caught on, perhaps a little bit later than other industry.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is a perfect timing, and the people that are out there, the newer generation, with different expectations and different culture and different desires and habits are very ties into that technology driven field of dentistry. So I feel that if you're not onto this, it's
Mm-hmm.
either you do or die, you fall off the cliff like
Mm-hmm.
every other office, or you get with it.
Yeah.
And it's overwhelming maybe at times if you're not too technology driven, but it's very simple. Some of the vendors out there made it very simple and very functional, so it's not complicated, and you just spend a few hours learning, and it's fun, and it's you get so much out of it and so much efficiency, but also just having a good time with it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, good for you to be
Hmm.
an early adopter of technology,
Yeah.
especially in that space in San Francisco and the area that you are in. I would especially think that most people are very technical driven just because of the
Right.
space, then the population there that
Yes.
works every day. And they expect their healthcare to probably be similar to what they're providing in their own companies. So um,
That's a very good point.
I
You're
love
right.
that you've kind of elevated your practices to be the expectation for the community that you're in, which everyone's going to have to do across the nation, regardless of where they live. They have to take stock of what type of community they are in, and then
Exactly.
offer that up. And I love that you've seen that technology is the way to do that for your locations. That's awesome. So, what challenges, this is one of my favorite questions to ask
Hmm.
practices, because I think sometimes we think we're unique and sometimes our problems are unique and sometimes everyone's just kind of struggling with the same thing right now. So what challenges are you seeing or facing currently, and how are you trying to overcome them?
So I believe that after the excuse me, after the COVID pandemic, we've had some issues with employment, hiring, and training newer employees. Although we were not that affected too much because we have very loyal employees that we've trained well and that would like to stay. And there's another also, aspect of that I want to talk about later, but how to keep and retain your employees, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one challenge that we have. Another challenge is that ever growing problems with dealing with insurance companies, claims, different insurance company requiring different things, and some of the claim rejections, how to go about that, how to efficiently do that at a busy office where people at our front desk have like thousand other things to do.
Yeah,
So that's
right.
always challenging. Yes.
Yeah. And I think you're not, I mean, I just recently, I was going to try to pull it up, but I'll see if I can find the post and put it in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
My coworker reposted something from somebody, some data set from an employee at American Dental Association, and they had just recently said that the top things are exactly what you said: employee health, I guess, and
Mm-hmm.
insurance contribution, and trying to figuring out, and then also how to drop insurance and go to fee for service. So there's a
Right.
that those um top things are kind of nationwide, are some of the concerns. So let's talk about first of all, and we're going to go a little bit out of order here, which is great, because I think I let's talk
Sure.
about your employees and what you're doing, I
Yeah.
guess, to overcome that struggle. How are you overcoming the hiring problems that are going on?
Right. So we've first tapped into some of the job postings at a college level, pre-dental society level at colleges and stuff like that.
Mm,
So we're already interviewing motivated employees who are wanting to become a dentist, wanting to explore becoming hygienist.
mm-hmm,
Um, so they are already motivated. They are
mm-hmm,
already somewhat educated. So that's the plus that we can go after that market.
mm-hmm,
Um, the disadvantage of that is once you hire and train them, maybe
mm-hmm.
they might be there with you for about a year or 2 years at most
Yeah.
because they're moving on to school. But that's okay. So there's one. Another thing is aspect of the employee retention is that good morale, of course, is really important.
Mm-hmm,
We work in the office, a very diverse field of community, and we have diverse cultures, and we respect that. And also, one of the key things that we do as our office is that doctors pay for employees' lunch. We all take lunch all at together, all at the same time.
mm-hmm,
We either cater to go, bring food, cook. It's a feast, and we enjoy our time together. And one of our employee who's going to dental school said, "Oh my God, I've never had this experience. This is great. When I open my dental office, I'm going to do exactly this."
mm-hmm.
So people really appreciate that.
Yeah.
We get to chit chat about forget about dentistry for about 1 hour, enjoy our food, and talk about other things, your families, and what's going on. So I think that's really important.
Oh, I
And
love that idea. And
yeah.
because a lot of offices will do it for their team meeting or something like that, but and that's I mean, it's a lot to feed a
Mhm,
group
mhm,
of people every
mhm.
time.
Yeah,
But
mhm.
as someone, like, my love language is feeding people, like,
Right,
I totally get that idea of creating a space via food and sharing a meal with someone that you really bond with them.
right,
And I love that idea of doing that with your team, because often if everyone's eating at different, and sometimes there are offices at the shifts, they just don't line up.
right,
But you really get to know the people over your lunch hour.
right. So like around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock comes around, everyone's like, so what are we having for lunch? What are we having for lunch? Oh, let's do this, let's do that.
Uh-huh.
So they're already excited.
Hmm.
So I think that's it goes a long way
Yeah.
for that to happen, and to have a happy employee, and really care for one another in that way.
Yeah. I love that. Do you what other things do you think you attribute to kind of a good culture that you created, that people want to stay and not leave?
I think the it's a top down. Your dentist. It starts with your dentist. If your dentist is, awful, or it gets has a bad temper, or is not
Mhm.
caring for other employees, that's not going to happen. So I think that luckily we don't have that problem. Our dentist is very caring and fun at the same time, and want to talk with you. And sometimes we have bad days, of course, but we work through that. But I think caring, and caring for one another is really important from top down.
Mhm.
So I think it's important that he or she, as a dentist, does that, and I do the same. And
Yeah.
and I expect the same thing back from our employees. If they want a certain days off, I want them to tell me in days in advance, and we work through that. So yeah, so it's all give and take.
Mhm. Yeah. That's really great. Well, good for you. I'm grateful that
Hmm.
I'm happy that you haven't had to deal with the struggles too poorly, but I know that your area was hit the hardest when it
Yes.
came to the pandemic and the closures. So I'm
Hmm.
glad that you guys have not only been able to bounce back but exceed expectations. So that's awesome.
Hmm.
Um what I'm interested, let's get into a little bit of marketing since
Sure.
that's the land that I live in and that's the land that I guess you lived in before.
Sure.
So
Sure. Sure.
um what are you doing about your marketing efforts and getting patients in the door?
Sure. So about 2017 is when we started. I think we were like one of the first in the city actually that started the communication vendor with text messaging and having an app set up
Mm-hmm.
through our Dentrix. And it wasn't Dentrix. Dentrix is way behind in that, but because I know they're just starting their game of that
Yeah.
right now, 5 years late. But anyway, so we started with this one company, and we were one of the first. And so a lot of ideas, I gave them a lot of ideas, and which they
Mhm.
incorporated, which is great. And these are text messages through patients' phones, and all the confirmation, all the emails, and the email campaigns, and all confirmation. These are all important aspects of it. So these are technology driven stuff that makes your life so much easier at the front desk.
Mhm.
However, you have to remember that these are also run by people, and these are also received by people. So if you don't really concentrate on the people aspect of it, how the user aspect of it, what are their expectation, how do they respond to certain text messages, and these are important aspect to look into as well, because it's people's business after all,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Really cool. So I when we talked earlier before we got on the show to kind of discuss your practice, you talked to me a little about the amount of new patients that you're bringing in a month
Yes.
and what you're how you're attracting them.
Right.
Go into a little bit. It's so interesting
Sure.
to talk about that.
Sure. So I think having good reviews like Yelp reviews or Google reviews really definitely help. Because every new patient that we get, I always ask them, "Hey, how did you find about us? How did you
Mhm.
find us?" Usually they're online, Google, Yelp, and things like that. And I tell them I appreciate that. So having those kind of reviews are really important. Number one. Um, so the communication text communication apps, whatever company that you might use, some companies ask for reviews after their appointment is done, saying they get text message, how was your
Mhm.
visit, if there's something that we need, and find us on Yelp and things like that. So they do review us immediately after their visit because they've had such a good experience, they want to talk about it. It's human nature. So we've got good reviews. That's number one. I think that also having a patient that is exciting to see us, we make it very transparent. We have pictures on the web page, and the fact that they can immediately go to our web page and direct them directly to our schedule that ties into Dentrix. They can see what are the openings. They can do it right then and there
Mhm.
without having to call people. I think some our generation now, they don't like to call on be
We don't
on the
like to
phone
pick up
that
the
way.
phone.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and then so I think it's very helpful if you have that set up, and it's not that difficult to set that up through a web page and through your software, dental software, which whatever you're using, and so that's really that helped us a lot.
Yeah.
We're getting so many new patients. Now our hygiene appointments are getting full. So we have a little line at the webpage. If you can't find something that you like, please give us a call,
Mm.
and we might be able to help you. And we do get calls. Hey,
Mhm.
I'm a new patient, and I'd like to find an appointment, but you don't have anything available.
Mm.
And then that's when you say, hey, we do have some cancellations. Let me put you on our wait list,
Yeah.
and let's do this and that. And then be very upfront with them and be very helpful. And so I think that helps too.
Yeah. So it sounds like giving people as many options as they can to schedule and removing all of those barriers.
Yes.
is key to getting the new patients in for your practice. That's
Right.
awesome. And I think a lot of practices are in that same boat. They're kind of noticing this idea. I mean, to be fair, it's very scary to leave your schedule up to a system. I mean, there's a lot of treatment coordinators out there who are like, they live and die by their schedule, and they're responsible for the production on it. And
Right.
to open it up to allow people to schedule when they want can be scary, but there are systems in place. I guess, how have you overcome that? How have you
So
overcome that kind of
yes, so that
hesitation?
was the first thought too. How do we, it was very overwhelming at first. So we tried like, 40-minute slots, 50-minute slots, 1 hour slots for hygienists. We've set up doctors' columns, emergency patients that want to see right away. So we've set aside, here's a doctor's column, the regular
Mhm.
doctor's column. And then we have another column that we open up strategically according to the time requirements. Like say, there's 30 minutes for emergency visits for doctor.
Yeah.
So if there's a 30-minute slot that we opened up intentionally, people will see that and they can come in. Our hygienist column is very full, so people cannot. The new people want to make an appointment. So what I do is that we have an associate dentist and other dentists. So we move our hygienist appointment to dentist
Mhm.
slot 1 or 2. They can do 1 or 2 cleanings, okay?
Mhm.
And that leaves hygienist spot open where people who go online will see that opening and right away. If nobody comes in the night before, and I move the hygiene appointment back to hygienist, and the doctor can see treatment. So there are other things that you have to work on it. It's not like leave it and run it
Forget it.
type of
Yeah.
thing.
Hmm.
You have to care for it. You have to look into it every
Hmm.
day and move and adjust and things like that. So I think that's important too.
Yeah, that's really good. That's a really good use case. And for those of you that are kind of maybe struggling with the idea of using an online scheduling solution, I'd rewind that and listen to that again, because I feel like it's important to highlight how you're using, the hygiene column and maybe a doctor's emergency column. And
Hmm.
that's how you've overcome like the hesitation of opening up your schedule. And then
Right,
you make openings based off of moving the appointments over to an open spot on associate's schedule.
right,
The other thing is, and because you have seen how important it is for a new patient to be able to get in as soon as they go on your website, right? Otherwise,
right,
what do? They move on to the next person.
right,
So to have those availabilities on your schedule, a lot of practices have this problem of not having enough space, right?
right,
Which is a good problem to have,
right.
but it sounds like your hygiene is the same way, and to overcome that, it's a team effort.
It's a
Associates
team
do
effort.
some
Yes.
cleanings
Yeah.
to make it possible so that you can feed the beast and have new patients come in. Yeah,
Right. Right. And there
awesome.
are there are some patients that we've known for a long time that I know that certain patients like hygienists, certain patients
Hmm.
don't have a problem getting cleaning through a doctor because they've been here for forever. So, it's just, you have to work on it. And then open up and cater to the needs of the patients first. And our office at the time, how busy we are. So there's always room for improvement and the ways to do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, so let's get into a little bit of your solution that you have with us with engagement, or Modento.
Right.
We've talked about online scheduling, but I'm interested to know, since you are so technology driven forward with your
Mhm.
practices and adopting these things,
Mhm.
what does automation look like in your practice? What things have you automated using either our solution or another solution? But what
Right.
um and how has that impacted your practice?
Right. Right. So many years ago, around 2017, when we started the text messaging app with another company, um, so that was great. But we didn't have the consent form, people signing forms, and
Mhm.
the patients' forms, and we didn't have that. So it was all still manual. And then we got onto this companies, other companies' consent form kind of solution that didn't really work out too well for us because it was a little clunky and there was a people involved and front desk had to be involved in certain steps,
Mm.
and it was kind of cumbersome to even though it was automation, but it was half automation,
Yeah.
and so we dropped that, and then of course, your company, Dental Intelligence and Modento, is when we came aboard, and through that automation with forms, which worked out greatly because it was completely from 0 to 100% automation. We click on the send form to a patient through their phone in the chair, and they sign it. It automatically gets feed to us, back to us, and gets loaded into Dentrix in the document center. Uh, there's no person involved in this process, right? So it's all automation, and so which is great. That we really liked. And then and through Modento, we came aboard. We dropped the other company's text messaging apps, and we're using Modento for now. So we love it so much. And there are different ways to do text messaging. I think that's important
Mm-hmm.
because you have to cater to like I said before, we are catering to the needs of patients who are very different, different generation expectations. So the confirmation process can be kind of cumbersome, and people complain about not showing up at offices. How do we deal with this? And people
Mm-hmm.
don't show up. We hear like, people don't show up for the interviews, and,
Mm-hmm.
different
Yeah.
generations have different values than
Mm-hmm.
us. Not judging, just
Yeah.
observing. But we can work through that through Modento text messaging. We can customize. We send out text messaging. We don't get confirmation. We send another one, and then we have wordings like, if you don't confirm or show up, there's $100 charge,
Mm-hmm.
no show fee, or and things like that. And once that text message gets sent, guess what? 5 minutes later, they could call or hey, I can't make it, whatever. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that helps, and and if everything else fails, then we still have to make that call to the
Mm-hmm.
patient. We have to make call, hey, leave a voice message, or we have to still engage every step of the way until like few hours before that appointment. So that helps us a lot in terms of how to deal with no shows.
Yeah.
um,
That's
so
that's
yeah, you just
awesome.
you have to engage, and then I think Modento has a various ways to sending out different hours and days and different wordings. It's all customizable, so you can do that. I think that helps.
That's awesome. And I would assume, I mean, tell me a little bit about how that's, I mean, impacted your front office, especially with you trying to hire, like,
Right.
yeah.
So our front office is mainly people coming in, checking out. They can spend more time with patients that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they don't have to really, it's like, what is your insurance? Oh my goodness, we didn't get your insurance information, and all of a sudden there's like a mad dash to find out about the insurance eligibility and things like that. But that's all taken care of before their arrival through the document that we send to patients automatically. So there's another thing. When a new patient signs up through our scheduling website, and they get onto the scheduling Dentrix, so they get forms automatically sent to
Mm-hmm.
patient, new forms, insurance information, and medical and dental history. So they fill out all these forms before coming to our office. And the day before, if we see that they haven't done it, then I believe the text message, the way it's set up, they get a reminder until they fill out their forms. Please,
Yeah.
fill this out. So that's great. And then also another thing about new patient where hygienist is full is that when people do call us, you do have to talk to them. And first, you have to realize that they didn't really want to call in the first place. So, they're really hesitant. Some people are. They don't really want to talk to you, but they have to. So, how do we make them that fear go away?
Mm-hmm.
So, as soon as I, get a new call, is it okay if I talk about the process of the new patient intake, Katie, at this
Yeah,
point?
go for it. Yeah.
So, even though I said technology is great, but we still have to cater to people. It's the people's needs that's
Mm-hmm.
important. So when a new patient calls in, I always say, I train these people, all my employees this way too. And the first thing I say is, "Hi, will you be our new patient, or are you our patient?" And then once they say a new patient trying to make an appointment, and I always say, "May I have your first name?" I always say first name because I don't want to hear their full name where it's difficult. We have different cultures, long last
Yeah.
names, and you mess up from the very second. So you don't want to go there. So first name, they might have a nickname, first name, and they
Mhm.
say Katie. And so first thing, next thing out of my mouth is, "Hi, Katie. I'm James. I can help you." You
Mm.
know, there's assurance. Oh, this guy's gonna help me on it, right? So
Mhm.
so Katie, and so we talked about this and this, and get into sign up in certain hours and choices. So Katie, now I've got some information. So I need some information for our insurance. What is your last name? And that's
Mhm.
when they're opening up. So they're friends with you now. So they're
Mhm.
readily opening up for their social security number or IDs, or last names. So they don't have a
Mhm.
problem with you. So when that's all done, then I say, "Hi, Katie. Thanks for giving me all that. So now you're confirmed this and that. By the way, I use your Katie name at least 3 times during the conversation, right?"
Mhm.
So so they're friends with you now. so
Yeah.
so okay, Katie, we'll see you so and so later. Thank you. And then hang up. And then you know I want to brag that all the calls that I get through me, I don't get cancellation. 99% they always show up. They don't cancel. Because in their mind, patient's mind, it's like, "Hey, this guy was really helpful, and I'm kind of excited to go see this guy, whatever
Yeah.
office." So when they show up,
And if I cancel, then I
yeah,
disappoint him because we're friends
exactly. There's
now.
this
Yeah.
mentalities, right?
Yeah.
So when they show up and I say, "Hi, Katie. Hi, I'm James. I talked to you on the phone. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
our friends." It's like, "Oh yeah, hi."
Yeah.
So there, that's important. So especially with generation now who are so used to staying at home, work from home, and they don't have this one-to-one relationship. So it really helps them, and have assurance that we are going to help them, and
Mm.
and put that coming to dental office is scary to first place. So have that fear go away with that pleasantry, and that assurance that this office is going to really help me.
Yeah.
So I think that really helps.
Yeah. I love that idea of, especially, thank you for giving us that kind of step by step on how you talk to your new patients on the phone.
Hmm.
Especially since you are in an area where there is a huge diversity of different cultures.
Right.
And I love that you kind of gave us that idea of asking their first name and getting that going, and then ask
Yes.
their last name, because many people who have a name that they're worried that people either might misspell or mispronounce, it's probably a little bit of friction. So I love
Right.
that idea of just asking for the first name first and then last name as you ask for more information. Yeah.
Yes, that comes last. Uh-huh. Yes.
Interesting. Well,
Mhm.
good information, James. We could spend another while talking to you, but I'm just grateful that you're willing to come on the show and spend some time out of your busy practice to talk to us about automation and things that have made your practice run a little bit smoother. What does I ask this question
Mhm.
to every single one of our guests, and it's because growth means a lot to us here at Dental
Sure.
Intelligence, and it means something different to everyone. So, what does growth in dentistry mean to you?
So so funny you asked that. Right now, we're in this office that I've been for a long time, due to overwhelming the success of people, new patients, and people liking us. So we have to move. We have to find a bigger place. You know how hard it is to find a new place in San
I
Francisco?
cannot even
Oh,
imagine.
so we did find a place and older building. So it's a grounds up. We have to we hired an architect, engineer to open up, and so we have more operatories, and
Hmm.
we're building grounds up. It's gonna be really nice, not too far away from where we are right now. So even last year, I sent out email campaigns to all of our patients. Hey, you know what? I think it was Christmas time, and Oh, by the way, that campaign. So we send out these email campaigns where it's fun for people to look at and open up.
Mhm.
Say, hey, this is Christmas time, and if you guess what our doctor's favorite Christmas movie is, you'll get a $50 gift certificate or something like that. And hey, we have our dental assistant front desk. He just got accepted to UCSF, and isn't that great? And
Yes.
everybody that comes in say, hey, congratulations, Justin, and
Oh, that's awesome.
so in that email, I announced that we're going to move, not too far away, and everyone that comes in, our patients, say, "Hey, when are you going to move? When are we going to move?" Oh, that's so exciting. So we share this information through email campaign. We don't do that too often because we don't want to spam their emails, but
Hmm.
maybe like every other month. And so and that helps as well. And that makes us like really like a family with our
Hmm.
patients, and I really mean that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Certain families, certain patients are like our family, and I really appreciate when they say the same thing. So I'm sorry I got off the
No,
track.
you're good. Growth. No,
Oh yeah,
as
the
far
growth.
as
Yeah,
growth, yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah. So
No, you were right on track. You're good.
so we are growing, and that part is exciting, and I think my desire is to really I really mean when I say that I really care for our patients, their needs of their dental needs, and getting the most out of that in a very comfortable place and caring place, and where they can trust. And so, the feedback that we get online reviews is all about trusting, all about comfortable, down to earth people, home like. So these are important aspects that we want to grow with our patients.
Hmm.
And I feel that, this policy, there's things that worked perfectly for us. We're just going to scale it up and grow into a bigger place where we can
Hmm.
cater to our community better with a bigger in a number of people. And for example, new patients might not have to wait like 3 weeks, 4 weeks,
Hmm.
5 weeks, but they can come on like maybe next week,
Yeah.
readily sign up that way. So I am really excited. Hopefully that will move in there in a few months, but yeah.
Well, good for you guys, and good for you to be able to really understand where your priorities lie and
Hmm.
what things you want to scale. Because I think it's easy to want to just get bigger because you have to.
Yeah.
But if you're not intentional about how you get bigger, then things will get, the values and things that made you successful from the beginning will get lost. So
Yes.
I think that's awesome that you've already recognized that. So
Hmm.
so thank you so much, James, for joining us. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
for taking the time out again. And thank you to our listeners for joining. This has been Growth in Dentistry, a Dental Intelligence podcast. You can find the link to get a demo on our show notes or go to dentalintel.com. Thank you to our marketing department for all their work on this podcast as well. I'm Katie Polson. Keep growing.